biology teacher. So, let us start our discussion. The first question here on the screen states, which one of the following is not a function of liver? So, students, remember that the key point here is not a function of liver. So, we have to eliminate all those options which are the function of livers. For example, the first option states detoxification. Yes, it is a function of liver. It detoxify chemicals. Eliminate this option. Production of bile. Yes, liver does produce bile, though it is stored into the gallbladder, but it is produced by the liver. So, it is a function of liver. Eliminate it. Synthesis of plasma protein. Yes, liver does synthesize some gamma globulins and immunoglobulins. Secretion of insulin. Secretion of insulin is solely a function of pancreas. It is secreted by the beta cells of islets of Langerhans, the endocrine portion of pancreas. Even though the liver is the target for insulin, but it is not the source. So, our best option is the secretion of insulin. While doing these type of questions, remember that we should mark the best option or the best choice. We should not go for the correct one. Always go for the best option. The next question. It states which is false. So we have to remove or eliminate all the options that are true, all the statements that are true in their nature, and choose the one that is false. It says electron transport chain uses oxygen as final electron acceptor. This is a correct statement. Eliminate it because the electron transport chain, the electron moves from the pathway from NADH to coenzyme Q, then to cytochrome B, then to cytochrome C, then to cytochrome A, A3, and then it combines with oxygen, which further combines with hydrogen ions to form the water. ATP synthase uses protein or proton gradient to make ATP. This is also a correct option. In the Z scheme, ATP synthase does uses proton gradient to make ATP. Moving on to the next option. Fermentation produces ATP via oxidative phosphorylation. Fermentation. For here the keyword is fermentation produces ATP via oxidative phosphorylation. So this option or statement is false in its nature because the fermentation uses substrate level phosphorylation, not oxidative phosphorylation, which occurs in the aerobic respiration. And oxidative phosphorylation requires an electron transport chain and oxygen, which is also not produced or formed in the fermentation process and lactic acid formation process. Moving on to the next option, it states glycolysis occurs in cytosol. Yes, glycolysis does occur in cytosol. So this statement is true. So eliminate this option. Or correct option, or the best option that we have to choose according to a premise is C. Fermentation produces ATP via oxidative phosphorylation. Question number 12. Which is not a post-transcriptional modification in eukaryotes? So remember that the addition of 5' cap, poly A tail addition, or splicing of out of introns, all these three are the post-transcriptional modification in eukaryotes. These are essential process in processing pre-messenger RNA into mature messenger RNA in eukaryotes. Either it's capping, tailing, or splicing. The option that left in our choice is delta, methylation of adenine bases in the DNA. So this is the correct option. And the reason behind is that the methylation of adenine bases in DNA is just the addition of methyl group into the adenine base, and it is used to regulate gene expressions. Okay, moving on to the next question, that which structure is not derived from mesoderm? So remember that we have three things, or three stages, three layers of skin in the early developmental stages. It is ectoderm, it is mesoderm, it is endoderm. So remember that all the skeletal or muscular systems, circulatory system, lymphatic system, immune systems, reproductive, respiratory, or urinary systems are belonged to mesoderm. Okay, all the systems. Whereas all the organs, for example, gut lining, visceral glands, lungs, alveoli, liver, are part of endoderm or are derived from the endoderm. Whereas the outer skin, the nervous system, the teeth, and the exoskeleton arthropods are derived from the mighty ectoderm. Even though the respiratory system is composed of mesodermal layers or derived from the mesodermal layers, but the lungs and alveoli are the visceral organs, so they are specifically derived from the endoderms. Let us choose a good option, skeletal muscle. As I have told that all muscular systems derived from mesoderm, eliminate it. Heart muscle, same a muscle. Kidney tubules, it also derived from mesoderm. Liver parenchyma, the cells of liver, the lining of liver. So the liver parenchyma or the cells of liver, the base lining of liver is derived from endoderm, as I have told you before that the visceral organs are derived from the endoderm. Which process does not involve ATP hydrolysis? Does not involve ATP hydrolysis. Muscle contraction? Yes, muscle contraction does involve it, because wherever there is ATP hydrolysis, there is the exchange of energy. Facilitated diffusion? No, the facilitated diffusion does not involve ATP hydrolysis. We will discuss it. DNA replication? Yes, DNA replication does include the ATP hydrolysis during the functionality of helicase enzymes. Active transport via sodium potassium pump in the resting membrane potential. Yes, ATP is used here also. Wherever there is active transport, there is the use of ATP and there is involvement of ATP hydrolysis. So the option we crossed is facilitated diffusion. So why it does not involve ATP hydrolysis is because it is a type of passive transport. It uses carrier or channel proteins to move molecules down their concentration gradient, so it does not require any kind of energy, or in biological term you say ATP. Next thing, what is the most abundant protein in human plasma? Remember that 55% of human blood is consists of human plasma, and from that 55%, 90% is water and 7% are proteins and 3 to 4% are some salts and other things, hormones. And from that 7%, only some are majorly or abundantly proteins present in human plasma from that 7% protein section. Let's get into it. Hemoglobin? No. It is produced and found in the red blood cells, so it has no link with plasma. Eliminated. Albumin? Yes. Albumin does is abundant in the human plasma, and it consists of 55 to 60% of human plasma. Of that 7% protein structure, it consists 65, 55 to 60%. So this is the correct option. Immunoglobulins, this is also a protein found in plasma. It consists of 35 to 38%. Fibrinogen, it is also a protein used to um, form clots during the bleeding side, and it consists of 4 to 7% of that particular 7% of protein section in human plasma. Next section. Which one of the following organelles are present in large number at sites of active transport? Which of the following organelles are present in large number of at sites of active transport? As we have discussed that active transport mean use of energy, production of ATP, hydrolysis of ATP. So does Golgi body involve in it? No, the Golgi body involves in the packaging of proteins and the transport of proteins. No. Lysosomes? Not at all. Lysosomes are the cell digesting entities and the food breaker entities that breaks down the food. Mitochondria? Yes. Mitochondria is present in large numbers at sites of active transport because mitochondria produces ATP. So when there is more ATP, there is more active site. There is more at active sites. There is requirement of more ATP, so there are more mitochondria. Rough endoplasmic reticulum? No. Endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi bodies, lysosomes are endomembranous system. So and mostly they are involved in the protein linkings and protein thingies. Like endoplasmic reticulum forms the proteins, lysosomes digest it, and Golgi bodies package and transport it. Next question. A length of double-stranded DNA contains 120 nucleotides. Double-stranded DNA. For polypeptide X, what is the maximum length for polypeptide X? So as we know that each polypeptide is made up of amino acids. So one amino acid is formed by one codon, which consists of three nucleotides. One amino acid, one codon, three nucleotides. So when there is one amino acid, we need three nucleotides for that. So for 120 nucleotides, it must be just divide 120 by 3 and we will get the answer 40, right? No, that's the wrong option. Because the tricky thing that tricks you and that is overlooked by you is that it is double stranded DNA. Double stranded DNA. So it means there are two strands and their total is 120 nucleotide. So for one strand, it is 60, and for another strand, it is also 60. For one, it is 60, for the other one, it is also 60. So we have to calculate it according to 60. So 60 by 3, 20. So correct option is 20 amino acids. Moving on to the next question. Golgi bodies are involved in altering proteins? Yes. Packaging proteins into vesicles? Yes. Producing lysosomes? Yes, because the primary lysosomes are actually the vesicles that bud off from the Golgi vesicles, from the Golgi apparatus, and are not used for the transport system and contains the hydrolytic enzymes. The transport proteins. Yes, the Golgi bodies also transport proteins. As we have discussed that the Golgi bodies packages, so it does transport. So the option number 1, 2, 3, and 4 all are correct. So the correct option is delta. Question number 19. In the diagram, the fetus normally develops within which structure? First of all, we are going to have a look on the structures. So the first structure here is, just a minute. The first structure, the structure A, is fallopian tube, or you can say uterine tube, or ovarian tube, you can say it. The second structure of structure B is actually ovary, where the egg is formed. The third is C structure, which is uterus, whereas the fourth one is either cervix or vagina. Okay, So it says that the fetus normally develops in within which structure? Is it fallopian tube? No, not at all. Not in structure A. In structure, so structure C and D are actually removed because we have no relation of development of fetus through vagina or cervix. So the thing that confuses most of the students are fallopian tube and between the uterus. We have to eliminate B even. So structure A, B, just a minute. Here it is. So remember that the fertilization occurs in the fallopian tube, not in the ovary, in the fallopian tube. And here the zygote is formed, planted, then it goes to the cleavage stage, then to the morula stage up to day 5. It remains into the fallopian tube up to day 5. Then it enters into the uterus on the day 5th as a blastocyst. And on the 8th week, it is referred as the embryo. And on the 9th week, it is referred as the fetus. On the 9th week, 8th week one is embryo. The 9th week one is fetus. So the fetus develops in structure C, uterus. Which one of the following works in acidic medium? Sucrase, yes. It works in the 4.5 pH, which is acidic medium because it is below 7. Catalase, no. It works at 7.6 pH, which is above 7, so it is in basic medium. Pepsin, yes, which is on the pH almost 2 to 3. So the delta option is both A and C. So we have sucrase and pepsin both are here. So we have to pick both A and C. The tendency of an offspring to resemble its parents is known as variation. No, variation refers to the difference or change. Resemblance. No, it is a quite generic term. We cannot use it. So the tie here goes to the heredity and inheritance. And I prefer heredity instead of inheritance because inheritance is the process of an offspring to resemble its parents, whereas heredity is the term for the actual tendency or phenomena of offspring resembling their parents. Next question. The chief structure and function units of nervous system. Always. The structure and function units of nervous system are always neurons. Neuroglia are the side characters, or you can say the supporting cells. So eliminate it. Myelin sheath, no. It is the insulating layer over the axons. Ganglia, not at all. It is the cluster of cell bodies in the peripheral nervous system. So it is not a chief structure and function unit. Structural and functional units are always neurons of the nervous system. Next, which term represents a pair of contrasting characters? Contrasting, different. Heterozygous genes, AA. Homozygous genes, AA. Codominant genes, like in AB blood group system. Allelomorphs, which is, you can say, the older term for the genes or alleles. So heterozygous genes, most of them, most of the students will pick heterozygous genes because they see there is the question. It says contrasting characters, heterozygous. Heterozygous have one dominant and one recessive, so heterozygous it is. No, that's not the case. Heterozygous genes indeed are contrasting, but in the genotype, the characters are not shown physically. So it's not in the phenotype. The phenotype is only one. So heterozygous genes is not a best choice. Homozygous genes, eliminated. That's a relevant option. Codominant genes are those genes in which every allele expresses itself fully. For example, in AB blood group system, if there is A gene and B allele, the blood group will neither be A nor B, but it will be AB. So this is also not a good option, irrelevant option. There is no contrast because both of them are showing themselves fully. Allelomorphs. The last option that left, so we picked it up. As I have told you that allelomorphs are the older term for the genes. Okay, so long-term changes in her body are regulated by enzyme. No, they fastly work. They work fastly. They catalyze reactions such as HCl and pepsin in our gut. Neurons. Oh, sorry, HCl is an acid. Neurons. No, these are the quick and fast responses. Central nervous system. No, quick and fast responses such as in reflex action. Hormone. Yes, hormone are the long-term changes in our body. Endocrine system hormones handles long-term processes like growth, metabolism, and reproduction. Codominance. Codominance is when one allele is completely dominant over another allele. No, that's complete dominance. Two alleles expressed equally in the phenotype of heterozygote. Yes, two alleles are expressed equally in the phenotype of heterozygote, just as in the AB blood group example. So the codominance is when two alleles are expressed in the blended phenotype in heterozygote. No, that's the definition of incomplete dominance. No allele is expressed in the phenotype of the heterozygote. That's a trash bin statement. 26th. So question number 26. Overactivity of sympathetic nervous system causes disturbance of vision? No, it does not have any relation with vision. Increase in heartbeat? Yes, because the sympathetic nervous system is a flight or fight mode. It increases the heartbeat and blood pressure while inhibiting digestion. Constipation? No relation with constipation again. Decrease in blood pressure. It is the function of parasympathetic system, not the sympathetic system. Which of the following is not a part of male reproductive system? Simple question. Testis is, epididymis is, ovaries, these are not. Urethra, it is. So the correct option is ovaries. The genes for the seven characters chosen by Mendel are located on four chromosomes, five chromosomes, seven chromosomes, six chromosomes. It is an information based question. So the seven characters are located on four chromosomes, precisely on chromosome number 7, 3 on chromosome number 4, 2 on chromosome number 1, and the last one is on chromosome number 5. So its sequence is 7, 4, 4, 4, 1, 1, 5. Antidiuretic hormone is dash in nature. What in nature? Is it a protein? Is it a steroid? Is it a polypeptide? Is it an amino acid? So the correct option is it is a polypeptide. So let us just remember some examples of protein hormones that are insulin, glucagon, somatotropic hormones. Some polypeptide ones are antidiuretic hormone, oxytocin, gastrin, prolactin, secretin, parathormone, calcitonin. In the amino acid derivatives, we have thyroxine, both T3 and T4, adrenaline and noradrenaline. You can also say them catecholamine, or in general, the hormones produced from the thyroid and adrenal medulla. In the steroid section, we have the hormones from gonads and adrenal cortex, precisely from estrogen, testosterone, and corticosterone or cortisone. Next question. Cartilage is a form of cardiac tissue? No. Nervous tissue? No. Epithelial tissue? No. Connective tissue? Yes. It is a form of connective tissue along with bones. Bones are also a form of connective tissue. Blood is a form of connective tissue. Which of the following blood vessels contains semilunar valves? Capillaries? No. They have intercapillary sphincters to control the blood flow. Arterioles? No, they don't have any kind of semilunar valves, even in the exceptions. Arteries and veins. In the arteries, There are generally no semilunar valves because the blood flow is high and blood pressure is high and in one way, except two arteries, and that are pulmonary artery that carries the blood away from heart to the lungs, the deoxygenated blood, and the aorta that carries the oxygenated blood to the body away from the heart. So these are the exceptions. And in general, they have no semilunar valves to cross it. So the leftover is veins. Veins does have semilunar valves. Last question. Which one of the following is not a function of bone? Regulation of iron concentration? It is. Muscular contraction? No, it is not. Organ and nerve protection? It is. Regulation of pH? It is. Let us discuss in detail. Regulation of iron concentration. How? To regulate the rate of absorption of calcium and phosphate salts. Muscular contraction, it is not a function of bone because muscle contracts by a process known as sliding filament model by the ATP hydrolysis. E- but bone provides the attachment positions or attachment sections for the muscles. Organ and nerve protection, yes, the prime example is our rib cage and sternum that protect our heart and lung. If we have open heart surgery, we have to place a grinder to cut the sternum first and then to reach the heart. Regulation of pH, yes. How? Because when there is a regulation of ion concentration, the calcium and phosphate ion concentration regulation from the blood to bone, there is a regulation of pH. For example, if the concentration of calcium ions increase in the blood so much, so the pH decreases and it affects the pH of the blood. And that was our last question. And that was all for today. I hope you may have cleared all of your concepts. And that's all for today. Thank you.